The recording of that session, as well as some handouts and additional information about how to contact the folks that you're going to be hearing from today, will be sent out to everyone who registered for today's event. So all of that will be coming your way in the next couple days. And I think that's it for me. So I'm going to turn it over to our first presenter today. That would be Kate. Thank you so much for coming and sharing this information with our members, Kate.
Thank you so much for having us. It's wonderful to be with the Nonprofit Alliance today. My name is Kate Schretzel, and I'm the Director of Programs for Serve Connecticut, which is Connecticut's Commission on Community Service. I used to be embedded in the Alliance as a member organization myself before my stint here at the Commission, so I'm really familiar with the work you all do and what a great network you're a part of. So it's really personally, it's a pleasure for me to be here today. So I'm going to start the presentation, and I also have my colleague Adrienne with me, and she will introduce herself when she takes the baton from me. So
I think I have to make you host, so I'm going to do that now. There you go.
Perfect. All right, here's my screen. So our presentation today is to talk about AmeriCorps, which is a national service program, and what kind of tools it offers to nonprofits and other organizations that you may partner with, such as municipal partners, agency partners, tribal partners, or consortiums of organizations. It's a really flexible program in a lot of ways and somewhat inflexible in other ways, which is where we come in to provide robust support to people who are interested. So we're going to talk about basically what is Serve Connecticut, what is our organization, how do we serve the state, what is AmeriCorps, both the agency and the concept, how national service resources are currently being used in Connecticut by organizations that you may be familiar with, maybe they're your organizations, how your nonprofit can use national service as a strategy to serve the communities that you work with, and then other ways your nonprofit can engage with national service. If you're not necessarily leveraging it as a tool, there's also other touch points that might be beneficial to you or to the people you serve. So for context, AmeriCorps was instated through the National and Community Service Act of 1990. It was called the Corporation for National and Community Service. It's one of those weird federal agencies that is listed as a corporation because it was granting monies. It appears in the same budget with, the public broadcasting and similar programs. Then that law was amended a couple times, once in 1993, which set up the National Community Trust Act. So that was the law that actually put in effect education awards that AmeriCorps members and other national service participants earn through their service. And then there was a Serve America Act of 2009 that added some additional programming and stipulations to the law. So all in all, those three pieces of legislation create AmeriCorps as we know it today as a national service strategy. One of the things that came out of that law was that every state had to form a state service commission, so that you have AmeriCorps, the federal agency, deploying funds and making funding decisions nationally. But then you also have that state viewpoint piece that's, we see across our government, where local funding decisions can be made, local prioritization, because states know states best. So every state and territory was mandated to have a state service commission. And as you can see, last year, 1993, we celebrated 30 years of AmeriCorps. And this year we are celebrating 30 years of Serve Connecticut. The other thing I want to point out to you is that when you get this slide deck, anywhere you see a red Read More button, you can go ahead and click that and there'll be more details. So if you really want to get into the weeds of national service regulations, you can definitely do so from this slide. I won't bore you with it today. So what is a state service commission? Basically, it's a governor-appointed board. There are 15 to 25 members on the board at any given time. Those members are they come from prescribed sectors per federal law. So we must have a youth commissioner. We must have someone from the Department of Education. We must have someone who's affiliated with labor unions. We must have someone affiliated with nonprofits and community organizations, and so on. There's about 12 or 13 categories that we must have someone slotted in. We must have even political representation. And so that is a matter of compliance for our service commission. If we are lacking appointees on the board, it becomes an issue with AmeriCorps, the agency, and we have discussions about that. So we try to stay on top of that. We have a wonderful working relationship with the governor's appointment office. And so their role is basically to serve as liaisons for service with the state. They promote the funding that we administer, and they promote just volunteerism and service in general. Additionally, our commission is staffed by currently, well, as of this morning, 5 individuals we just found out. We have an executive director that reports to the board, and then I am the director of programs, and Adrian is the program officer. So we're in charge of kind of overseeing funding and awards, and providing technical assistance to applicants and awarded grants. We have a communication person, and we'll have a new recruitment marketing role later in June, which is very exciting. This is the first time our staff will be upsized in quite some time. So what drives our work is another federal mandate that comes from that AmeriCorps law, is that we have to develop with our commission board and with public input a state service plan. And it's a 3-year plan, and we just ratified the newest version of it last May. So our state service plan goes from 2023 to 2026. And basically what it does is it outlines our objectives around our fundamental roles. One is that we're a funder, and we fund organizations. So we deploy our funding, we run 2 competitive processes each year, and then we provide training and technical assistance to applicants to those processes and also to the people, the programs that we award. And then we have a fiduciary role around monitoring the funding being spent, the performance of those grants, compliance with the federal regulations that go with the programming. It is a federal program. There is some bureaucracy that's attached to it. But working with a state service commission does reduce some of that burden. And then we promote service and volunteering in general. If you would like to read more on our state service plan, it is linked on this page when you get this slide deck. So I'm now going to turn it over to Adrian.
Wonderful. Thank you, Kate. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Adrian Ekman, and as Kate said, I am the program officer with Serve Connecticut. Before joining the commission, I did manage an AmeriCorps program in Connecticut from the start of it receiving its funding. So I have a lot of experience with building an AmeriCorps program and understanding all of the amazing nuances that come with running and operating grants. So at this point, I think it's helpful to explain a little bit about what national service really is and also how it's organized. So national service is an umbrella term, and it really means that it's made up of programs across the country that are really attempting to solve a community need. These programs have decided that as part of solving their community needs, what is helpful is to recruit and deploy a group of members who dedicate a service term towards those needs. These members, in exchange for their service, do get benefits, which include an education award that can be used to pay for post-secondary education or to pay down past student loans. It's really helpful. It's at this point, it's just past $7,000 for a full-time service term if a member completes it. So it's a really nice benefit. As well, depending on the program, a member may also receive a living allowance, healthcare coverage, child care assistance, and sometimes other benefits. As well, a member will receive personal and professional development. They get to connect to career benefiting networks and also just make lifelong memories and friendships. If you speak with alumni, many of them will share the different relationships that they've been able to build. So AmeriCorps and national service is really a mutually beneficial partnership between the organization that members are serving with and the members. By the end of a service term, organizations should feel really good about the service that they've received from members to push towards progress in the community need that they're attempting to address. And by the end of that service term, the members should feel like that they have really developed professionally, personally, and have gained a lot of great experience. And I'm just curious if there happens to be any AmeriCorps alumni on the call right now. If you want to put that in the chat, I always love to hear if we have any alums with us. So feel free to shout yourself out. So then moving on to the next slide, I'm going to go into now a little bit more about how national service and AmeriCorps is organized. So when we say AmeriCorps, that it's kind of funny. It's a little bit like the concept of national service we'll use the term AmeriCorps, but AmeriCorps is the name of the federal agency that administers national service programs. So as Kate mentioned, it used to be the Corporation for National and Community Service. They changed it to AmeriCorps, which I think is quite fitting. So within AmeriCorps, there are different buckets that organize each program that you see operating in the country. You might also hear these buckets as phrased as funding streams. But it's really just a way to organize how each of the programs are able to develop. So you have AmeriCorps State and National, AmeriCorps Seniors, and I will be going into a deeper dive into each of these. AmeriCorps Seniors, AmeriCorps Vista, AmeriCorps NCCC, and then there are also some opportunities related to days of service and other initiatives that AmeriCorps does fund. All of these buckets really allow organizations to get creative with potential solutions for their community needs. I think it's why it's so great that there's kind of all of these buckets, because it really does allow organizations to think, this is the need that I want to solve. What is the best way to do that? And there are so many different options that you really are able to utilize to deploy the service that you want. And it really is innovative in the way that programs are able to deploy their service. AmeriCorps is meant to be meeting community needs in unique ways. And so you'll see as we discuss more about programs, and after this call, if you look into more programs, you will see that the service that they're doing is unique and is very innovative, because the whole point is that they're designed to fill gaps. We're not duplicating or displacing resources that are already in place in communities. We are trying to find those gaps, fill those, and make sure that we are really trying to find different ways to solve the challenges that we have in our communities. On to the next one. Great. So discuss a little bit more about each of those buckets that I was talking about. So state and national is kind of more of that traditional, maybe AmeriCorps program that you might have in your head if you're familiar with AmeriCorps. So this is a group of members that are key gap filling intervention at scale to the community on behalf of the awarded organization. So this is, you have an organization, a group of organizations who have a specific community need that they're attempting to solve, and they're able to put together a group of individuals who will be deployed to meet those needs. As well, we also have our AmeriCorps Seniors bucket. This is a corps that is specifically for those individuals that are over the age of 55. And they do quite a few different programs. You might be familiar with RSVP or foster grandparents or senior companions. They provide a lot of mentoring and academic support to students. They might assist homebound seniors and meet other critical community needs. We then move on to our AmeriCorps Vista, which is the oldest kind of AmeriCorps program. It got its start, I think, in '63 or around that date. I don't know if my date is completely right, but around there. So they are volunteers in service to America. These are individuals who are really focused on building organizational capacity, specifically in regards to trying to reduce poverty in our communities. It's a year-long service term, and they're really amazing. They're always on. It's really wonderful. And then we have our AmeriCorps NCCC. This is that group of AmeriCorps members who are deployed across the country to do many different types of service projects that are all team-based and short-term. If there is a natural disaster that occurs in the country, they're deployed to that area. And then if there isn't any natural disasters, they'll do other short-term projects across the country that organizations have applied for and are able to get a team out there to do these kind of short service terms. But they are a group of 18 to 26-year-olds that are full-time, and they're traveling around, sometimes sleeping in church basements. So they are really, really great members. Okay, so as I said before, I'm going to explain a little bit more about what filling a gap means. So when I say that AmeriCorps is here to fill a gap, it's really just a description for how powerful of a tool AmeriCorps can be. It is not meant to displace any current staffing or any current programs that you might already have in place. It's really meant to expand services or to innovate or to enhance any services that you have. AmeriCorps really challenges organizations to think outside of the box and really think about how can I deploy these members to really meet our community needs in ways that we weren't able to previously, and AmeriCorps will allow us to pursue this option. So as you can see, filling gap can be expansion of services. enhancement of services, innovation, and or capacity building. You'll see in that stop sign, AmeriCorps is not a way to replace existing employees or volunteers with lower cost labor, and it cannot compete with existing resources already being deployed in the community. So again, we're looking for innovation. We're looking to think outside of the box, where it's not an opportunity just to get some lower cost labor to replace anybody that might already be doing that work. Okay, and I'll let Kate take this part.
Yeah, so all nonprofits, at least from my memory, when I was working with nonprofits, have those services that you deploy that if you could just add some more boots on the ground to make it bigger, or you know, your beneficiaries get something out of what you and your partners are doing, but if they just had this little enhancement, this supplementary service, this wraparound service that doesn't exist, those are the niches that we're trying to fill. So it's a very exciting way to maybe dream of getting those things that maybe you've talked about in your boardroom, getting those things up and running. So what is our role as a state service commission? Well, we have two roles. One, we're a funder, and two, we're a connector. So our primary role out of the federal law is to administer AmeriCorps state funding. So of that AmeriCorps state and national program that Adrian just talked about, we handle the state portion and AmeriCorps handles the national portion. So I will go into a little bit more detail about what that means, but AmeriCorps handles all the other funding streams that you see here: AmeriCorps National, Seniors, Vista, and NCCC. And so our role when it comes to those programs is to connect organizations who serve Connecticut to those streams, to see if they're a good fit for achieving your objectives. So if you have an idea for a program that may not be the best fit for an AmeriCorps state program with Serve Connecticut, but it would be a great AmeriCorps Vista program, you can come to us and we'll connect you with the right people. You can also go directly to AmeriCorps, but know that you have local partners who can help you navigate all of these different streams. We're fluent in it, so you don't have to be. So what does Connecticut look like right now? Now, this, I do not expect you to pay attention to numbers, but I want you to see visible proof. This is a report that is available on AmeriCorps' website at the link up here. Obviously, it's a federal agency, so they have to be transparent in their spending. So you can get down to, this report is pretty comprehensive, down to the names of all of the service sites where AmeriCorps members, AmeriCorps seniors, NCCC, AmeriCorps state and national. It goes into every place down to how many members and volunteers are at each site. So if you want a really in-depth picture of what national service looks like in Connecticut as of the most current data, which is 2023, this link will take you there. So this chart shows you that we have had 2,400 members and volunteers serving in Connecticut for the 2023 year at 269 service locations all over the state. And $12 million in federal investment have been spent on this endeavor between the federal funding to fund these programs, the federal funding to fund our state service commission, which is a drop in the bucket to the rest of the program funding, and also to fund all of those education awards that those wonderful members and volunteers have earned in 2023. So you can see that all of the programs we just described to you have a presence in our state. All of the seniors programs, all of the state and national and NCCC and Vista, and you can see exactly how many and how much was spent. Fun fact, state and territorial service commissions, including us, administer more than 80% of AmeriCorps state and national grants. That is 40,000 AmeriCorps members. So we're a really important part of the national service ecosystem. And so I mentioned that some of this federal funding comes to our commission, just so you know, for transparency. We receive operational support that pays for salaries and, basic structural items to run the commission. And then we also receive money that's called commission investment funds. And those funds pay for capacity building, training, technical assistance, the platforms that we use to support ourselves in our work, making sure we're being good stewards of federal funds, and also to support our programs in being compliant and also being innovative and high performing. So the state investment in our commission is a 1-to-1 match with the operational funding only. So it's a very small investment of state funds to generate this much federal investment in our state, in our organizations, and in the residents of our state who choose to serve here. So I mentioned earlier that AmeriCorps State and National is one large funding stream, as Adrian mentioned that vocab word. But the basic difference is what makes AmeriCorps State our responsibility and AmeriCorps National, AmeriCorps, the agency's responsibility, is that any program funded under AmeriCorps State is operating only in the state that they're applying to. So all of the programs that we administer serve only Connecticut. Then AmeriCorps National, those programs serve in at least 2 states or territories. So AmeriCorps takes on all of those. We are not left out of that process. State service commissions have a role in providing feedback on national applications that are going to operate in our own states or territories, but our primary role is funding the AmeriCorps state piece. So if you have an interest in developing and implementing an AmeriCorps program in Connecticut, you would work with us directly. So how does it work? Basically, I've got 2 representations here. Basically, as we've described, AmeriCorps provides state service commissions with funding, and then we award that funding to organizations such as yourselves that apply to run an AmeriCorps program. That funding is partial operational funding for a full program budget. So it includes staffing, it includes fringe, it includes training for members and for the staff of the program. It includes consulting, evaluation, program operating costs, supplies, equipment, member living allowances, member fringe, and yes, indirect costs. It's all included. And then the grantee is responsible for a minimum of 24% match. That can be cash, it can be in kind, it can be secured or proposed at the time of application. So you don't have to have it in place when you apply. Those organizations may or may not work with host sites that are external to them. Sometimes it's an organization that hosts the members in their own site. Sometimes those members are serving elsewhere. So those are partnerships that the program develops with their host sites. And then they recruit the AmeriCorps members who deploy some kind of well-designed program that is evidence-based or evidence-informed to the community. What do I mean by evidence-based or evidence-informed? If you write grants, you probably already know. But in AmeriCorps world, it means evidence-based in that there are controlled studies, there are serious evaluations of an intervention, and the program is going to replicate those with fidelity. Or, and this is where the innovation comes in, evidence informed, meaning there's data out there to suggest that an intervention that the applicant has designed will work. And so this AmeriCorps program becomes a beta. It becomes a lab where that intervention can be tested and evaluated and see if it actually does work. So there's a lot of room for innovation as a new applicant for AmeriCorps funding. And we are very excited to work with those programs. So there's a lot of responsibility attached to being a grantee. You are actually, for AmeriCorps State, you are taking on development of a full program. But if you're in a position with your organization where you need to deploy something at scale, where you have people branching out into the community, whatever size that community is, and deploying an intervention in a way that's going to have meaningful impact, this is a great option because it is a whole program. You get staff. The members do their service activity. Primarily, it is going to be whatever that intervention is, that evidence-based or evidence-informed intervention. That's going to be the litmus test that tests the performance of the granted program. But they can do other things too. So their service and activity is inclusive of that primary activity, but they can also do other community engagement on behalf of your organization. They can provide capacity support with your organization, as long as it's consistent with the aim of the funding. The sky's kind of the limit with this. So it's a really wonderful program that way. AmeriCorps state grants are awarded on a one-year budget, but when you're awarded as a new grantee, you're awarded a 3-year cycle. So then you apply for continuation funding. You submit a new budget for year 2 and year 3. So you don't have to submit a full application. And then once you hit 3 years, you're considered a recompete application. So you submit a new application and start a whole new 3-year cycle. So that puts a lot, there's a lot of sustainability attached to this, which is really nice. I mean, no grant is guaranteed, but when you're awarded as a new grantee by the State Service Commission or by AmeriCorps, know that that award presumes a 3-year relationship minimum unless something catastrophic happens, either at the funding level or there's some kind of serious performance or compliance issue with the program. Okay. So what do programs look like? And then or am I kicking this over to you, Adrian? Is this yours? Oh, I'll do it. I'll do it.
You're gonna take this one.
Then I'll hand it over. So I mentioned that programs can often have embedded members, or they can have host sites. So this page and these links link directly to our technical assistance workbook for funding. So you can get more detail on this as well. They look all different kinds of ways. The parent organization is the fiduciary organization that we've awarded funding to. And they could either host all of their AmeriCorps members at their organization, and that's where the members serve, or they can engage service locations. They're hosting members to provide, in this example, nutrition education, and they get farmed out in teams of 2 to different service districts, school districts, to provide families with nutrition education. Or in the most complex model, I would say, you could have your organization as awarded members, and those members go to different operating sites across the state. We have several models like this in our portfolio currently, and those operating sites send them to service locations near them in their region. So there's lots of different models. It all depends on what your goal is, how big your community is, what your program design is. There's no one model, fixed model. It can be customized to what you need. Okay, now I'll send it to Adrian.
Yes, thank you. So I'll talk a bit about the kinds of programs that serve Connecticut funds and the programs that we have right now. So that link of the read more link on this slide will take you to more information about our currently operating programs. But I'm going to describe a little bit about them. So we have a really nice range of programs this past year. Our core size range from 10 to 225 members. If anybody here knows Jumpstart, they are our biggest program right now with the 225 members. They are a preschool tutoring based program where college and university students are able to go and gain hours by tutoring preschoolers. Member service terms as well can range anywhere from 300 hours to 1,700 hours. From minimum time to full time. And then within that, there are a couple of other options. And we also have in our portfolio a range of options. The member service term is a really great way to design your program to figure out what is the best term for a member to deploy services. And so throughout some of our programs, grant cycles, they've kind of changed some of the service terms to really meet the needs of their organizations that they're serving with, or just what the community needs are. Currently, our focus areas, they include improving access to healthcare, improving school readiness among preschool students, improving student engagement through STEM-based adventure learning, substance abuse prevention, and nonprofit capacity support. We also had 2 planning grants this year that were focused around climate change response and mitigation and community college student access to high-need industries in the state, such as advanced manufacturing and biotech. So we have a really nice range. This is not the limit of focus areas that are available. We really want to have as diverse of a portfolio as possible. And so we really love when innovative and new programs come in to address a need that might not already be a focus area being addressed with one of our current programs. And especially, we do take note of geographical locations of our AmeriCorps programs. We want to be sure that as much of Connecticut is being served as possible. So we love it when we get programs that are able to be in different parts of the state. We have, programs that are based in Bridgeport, and we're really happy that we have programs that are based in New London. So we really try to, and then other places, not just those. I'm not forgetting the rest of the state, but just to shout out a few. So so again, if you want to read more about our programs, please click that link. They do such an amazing service. So I highly recommend you look into them. And so you heard me say, talk operational grant versus planning grant. So AmeriCorps Connecticut, we have 2 different grant options. If your organization in pursuing an AmeriCorps program. So the first one is the operational grant. So this is that your organization is ready to deploy a group of members to meet the community needs, and you are, ready, full force ready with that core. Awards are determined mid-May by vote of the Serve Connecticut Commission Board, and then program operations begin in August, September, October, determined by the applicant. And then, as Kate was saying, that awarded grant term is 1 year with the option to continue to 2 or year 3. We have also implemented planning grants. These grants allow organizations to start to research and figure out if an AmeriCorps operational program is a good fit for you. So this allows some opportunity for an organization to develop an AmeriCorps program. These awards are also determined mid-May by vote of the Serve Connecticut Commission Board. They start their activities in August. and culminate in the submission of a full operational grant proposal for the following year, hopefully. There is not, we would love if every planning grant ended in an operational grant. That's certainly what we hope for and what we support planning grants to do. You're not required to submit an operational grant after a planning grant. And then this awarded grant term is 1 year.
Yes, I can see that I lied on this slide. That's a copy paste error. Planning grants are for 1 year and they're not renewable. So I will fix that on the slide deck.
Cool. Okay, great. So now, if your organization is not totally ready to submit any type of grant to serve Connecticut, which we completely understand because AmeriCorps it's a lot to learn and there's a lot to get used to. There's a lot of organization on your part of trying to figure out if it's a right fit for you. So we do encourage organizations to explore other ways to really engage with AmeriCorps. One of, I think, the best ways to do that is to become an AmeriCorps Connecticut program host site. So if you look into one of our programs, when you click that link on that other slide, and you say, wow, this program is doing a lot of service that would be really helpful to our organization, you can reach out to that program director and ask for more information about having one of their service members assigned to your site to do their service at that site. One that I'm going to shout out is Public Allies Connecticut. If you're familiar with Public Allies, they are a capacity building AmeriCorps program that does a broad range of service activities. And they're all about really professional development for their members. So they place their members in really unique host sites. So if, again, you want to kind of just test out what it's like to work with an AmeriCorps program, to interact with an AmeriCorps member, see the service that they do during a service year, becoming a host site is a really wonderful option. As well, as Kate kind of mentioned earlier, you can always explore the fit of other AmeriCorps National Service programs, and Serve Connecticut is always happy to support you in that endeavor to help you navigate the different worlds. If you have a project that's going to last a few days, we can try to see if NCCC is a really great option for you. We had NCCC come in recently last year to do the dental clinic in New Haven. If anyone was aware of that. We had NCCC members who came in to volunteer during that wonderful event in New Haven. So that's the type of thing. They can come in for a few days, be those boots on the ground. As well, Vista is a great way to build an organization's capacity. Vista, it's a year-long member, but kind of similar to AmeriCorps State, it is a 3-year grant cycle. So it's a 3-year project, and they can also do a lot of great service. So again, reach out to us and we would be happy to help you with those opportunities if you're interested. As well, you can partner with AmeriCorps National Service programs. So if there is a AmeriCorps program in your city, in your town, who you just want to interact with, get to know their members. Our members just love getting to know the community and want to be involved. Our members volunteer outside of their service hours in different community-based organizations all the time, and they really love to dive in and get to know you all. So if you are just reach out to our program directors, and they would love to speak with you about partnering in other ways. And then, of course, lastly, we're always looking for just champions of national service. Please just spread the word around about AmeriCorps as being an option to any of your colleagues or to anybody else who might be interested in benefiting from the national service strategy. We just are always looking for champions.
So we are always looking for champions. And so we have a lot of ways that you can participate, as you can hear. And we also try to provide a lot of ways for you to jump in with us. So here is a summary of all of our funding processes. Just for information, the first two are our AmeriCorps competitive process and our national direct consultation. AmeriCorps competitive is an invite-only situation. These are programs that have been grantees with us for an extended period of time. They've gone through 1 or 2 3-year cycles, and we think they're ready to compete nationally. And so what happens is we invite them to do that in AmeriCorps' national process. And if they're successful, they get funding directly from the agency, but we administer them. And this is a wonderful thing because what it does is we're a small state, and our AmeriCorps state formula allocation from the federal government is very small because we have a small state, just like our congressional representation. So, so we like to use those funds to innovate new programs, to foster new AmeriCorps programs out of local need and local organizations. So if we can move more veteran programs into that competitive area, that frees up more of our formula dollars to share the wealth with other organizations in the state. So those two processes are related to that. The most important process for new applicants is the AmeriCorps formula process. Formula relates to how AmeriCorps, the agency, derives how much money our state gets to deploy in our AmeriCorps state programs. And so that process is something that starts in January of every year. We release a notice of funding opportunity and associated guidance. And our deadline for applications is the following March. If you would like to know when that is going to come out, the best way you can do that, and it's linked right on this slide, is to join our constant contact email list. Then you will know the minute that process goes live. So that is open to any nonprofit, state agency, municipality, tribe, or consortiums of organizations. If you have smaller organizations or associations and you have one organization that is willing to serve as your fiduciary, but you are collectively applying, that is totally acceptable. And I know that in some of our more rural parts of our state, that does seem, that kind of collective resource sharing is a really good strategy to get AmeriCorps into your community. Like we said, operational or planning grants are available. If you're not ready to submit either of those kinds of things, the other thing that we offer is a concept paper. This is available on our website. And what it does is it boils down all the questions that you would need to answer around what would we be trying to do in the community, and why do we think national service would be a good fit? And so it's just really conversational bullets. And you can go on, it's an online form, and you can go in and do it in note form, no Shakespeare, just share your ideas with us. And that concept paper goes to me, and Adrian and I and other team members will look at it and we'll give you feedback. We give these, we accept these on a rolling basis. You can do it anytime. It is not a requirement of our funding application process. It's purely for technical assistance. And answers to concept paper could range anything from, oh my gosh, this is the best AmeriCorps program idea ever. We're going to work with you to get you as an AmeriCorps state grantee. Or it could be, wow, your organization really has a lot of need for capacity. Let's hook you up with Public Allies or AmeriCorps Vista and see what we can do for you. And a range of answers in between. The answer may also be, you know what, national service is not a good fit for this. You are better off, engaging some volunteers, and let's hook you up with resources to do that. What kind of support do you need in that area? So we're here to serve the whole range. We do want to get more applicants for our AmeriCorps state funding, but we also want to talk to you if you're not ready for that or don't see that in your future. So lots of ways. Once you are awarded funding with us, we have very robust technical assistance and training throughout the life cycle of the grant. We have good working relationships with our programs, and we're extremely proud of them. One thing I wanted to highlight in this presentation as a heads up is that Serve Connecticut was recently awarded 2 grants to support youth service and youth service learning in our state. This comes as a follow-up to a prior grant that we were awarded by the Mott Foundation to do a landscape survey in Connecticut to get a better sense of where youth service is post-COVID. And now we've been awarded 2 new grants to both deepen youth service, meaning provide capacity to youth service practitioners and youth service participants and best practices, see what the training needs are and see if we can't help, and increase connectivity among youth service providers. And also we have an All-State Foundation grant to empower youth service. So this is money that we will be putting directly in the hands of youth service participants to conduct youth-led service projects. So that will be a mini grant opportunity that will be coming out soon. So this network, please stay tuned. Again, join our mailing list to get updates on that. Share this with your colleagues if there are folks who are working in this space. We definitely want their expertise, their feedback, and their participation. And that is our presentation, other than to say, we'll be following up with the corrected slide deck and also this informational flyer that it's really handy. It's 2 pages and it gets you to everything you'd ever want to know about our commission. And then just a reminder that Adrian and I are contacts that you can email, call, anytime with any question. We've heard them all and no question is not welcome. And I think that's it. And thank you very much for your time and attention.
Kate, do you want to ask people to come off mute if they have questions, or do you want them in the chat?
However they would like to do it. I do see a question that I got direct message, so I don't know, Monique, if you wanted to ask that or if you wanted a direct answer.
Hi, everybody. I was asking in reference, 3 questions. So one of them was, you guys mentioned your model and wasn't sure whether or not we can pick which model works best for our organization. The second question was about the minimum AmeriCorps members. I know that your range started with 10, but unclear if that's actually the minimum. And then the last question having to do with the 24% match. If we're applying for the 3-year grant, is that 24% each year? Thank you so much.
These are great questions. So our model, in terms of the program design and structure, that is fully dependent on the actual intervention that you're doing. So what your organization is, how big your community is, which partners you're working with, all of that kind of drives how many members, how long their service term will be, where they're going to be placed, where their workspace is, and where their service space is. So that's fully customized to whatever your needs are. In terms of minimum number of members, it is a core-based approach. So, we're looking for programs in the area of AmeriCorps State. We're looking for programs where you would have a number of members that would constitute a core, but we don't set a minimum because innovation may require and accessibility to smaller organizations may require a smaller core. So that it just happens that 10 is the minimum size in our range right now. But we would work with an applicant to talk about whether or not the minimum is too few or, or just right, or a good starting point. And then around match, new programs for the first 3 years are required to match at 24% each year. That's a minimum. Many programs match a little bit higher, but again, it is in kind or cash. So that could cover staffing, space in a building. There's a number of things that people put forward as in kind match.
Thank you.
Haley.
Hi, thank you so much for your presentation. This is it's really helpful. I was curious around skill set and qualifications of the members. Is there kind of a baseline if you need maybe some special skills? Do you have a different variety? I don't know. It sounds very weird to explain it like this, but I'm just trying to understand, like, what are we looking at in skill sets?
No, it's a fabulous question. And that again is driven by the program. So it speaks to, it's two things, right? It's like, it's a big nut. If you're submitting an application, you have to be mindful of this, and you have to think about what kind of candidates you would be engaging, what their minimum education would be. Would it be high school graduates? Would it be some college? Would it be college graduates, grad students? You know, what communities would they come from? What kind of qualities would you like them to have? You have to envision that. And then to deliver whatever intervention you're deploying, what kind of training would they need? Soft skills, hard skills, very specific skills. What kind of professional development would they expect to get as a result of service with your organization? So it is a big nut to crack, but also it's so customizable. So that's one of the beautiful things about it.
Okay, thank you.
I'd like to add on to that, just to provide an example as well. Just one of our programs does STEM-based learning, and part of that is through like kayaking and sailing. And so something that they do require is that their members receive lifeguard training. And so that's kind of one of those things where they make sure that their members are comfortable with that during the recruitment process, so that members know you will need to get lifeguard training, but then they provide that training during the service term to their members. So their members also get to walk out of their service term with a lifeguard certificate. So it's that mutually beneficial thing. And that way where they've got this very specific skill that they need their members to have, and they're able to get members to have that skill.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
I was going to say, I don't know. I know we're getting to the end of our allotted time. If you have questions, and if Kate and Adrian can stay, we can stay on the call for another few moments to get all of those answered. Otherwise, you'll get their contact information when I send out the email later this week as the follow-up to today's session, and we can let you go about the rest of your day. But if there is another question or two, we can see if we can fit them in.
I'm not seeing any.
No, I see some thank yous, but I'm not seeing any additional questions. So,
Well, those were excellent questions. So great.
all right. Well, please reach out to our presenters today if you do have any other questions, or feel free to send them to me and I can pass them along as well. Thank you very much, everyone, for being here this afternoon, and we'll see you soon at another event. Bye-bye. Well, that was great. I think at one point we had about 35 people, so
Awesome.
Great.
good audience.
Good audience and really great questions.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Yeah, very good.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for hostessing. And
No, this was a very popular topic, so maybe this is something we can make annual or biannual. I don't know what the the right frequency is, or if you're a repeat presenter for other organizations, but we got a really good response to this. So if it's, depending on, the cycle of applications and everything, if there's a particular time of year that you think is best.
Yeah, I mean, we
do
can
that.
certainly, do it right before our formula opens, or right, just as maybe not, because we open it in January, and I would hate to do it before Christmas and have everybody forget.
Yeah,
So
that's a hard time.
maybe November. Maybe November. But yeah, and we can customize, like if there's folks that are really interested in a certain aspect of this and they want a bit of a deeper dive, we can do that too.
Yeah.
All right.
Great.
Oh, well, thank you so much. This was fun.
Yeah, thank you very much. And do you want me to, it's going to take me a day or two to get the recording organized and ready to be sent out anyway. But if you want to send a revised
I will do it immediately.
slide deck, then, feel free to do that. If there's anything else you think of that you want me to send out to everybody.
Okay. All right.
Great.
Awesome. Well,
All right.
thank you.
Thank
So
you.
much. Have a great afternoon.
You too. Bye.
Bye.